It started with something so small, so absurdly mundane, that if someone had told me at the beginning how it would all end, with flashing police lights, a courtroom verdict, a viral video, and over $100,000 in legal and civil consequences, I would have laughed in their face. But here I am, sitting in my backyard, sipping a glass of iced tea, watching the sun dip behind the rooftops of my quiet suburban neighborhood, knowing that sometimes, justice doesn't come from a judge's gavel. Sometimes, it comes from a 300-pound concrete trash can and a woman's uncontrollable rage. My name is Ethan Cross. I'm 42, an electrical engineer by trade, a single dad to an 11-year-old daughter named Lily, and up until 2 years ago, the most controversial thing I'd ever done in this neighborhood was install solar panels without submitting a design approval form to the Homeowners Association. That little infraction earned me a sternly worded letter and a $75 fine. I paid it, rolled my eyes, and moved on. I thought that was the peak of my HOA drama. I was wrong. It all began on a Tuesday morning in early April. The air was crisp, the cherry blossoms were blooming along the curbs, and I was getting ready for work, coffee in hand, tie half knotted, searching for my car keys, when I stepped outside and saw it, my trash can, tipped over in the driveway, its lid rolled into the street, and a trail of banana peels, coffee grounds, and shredded junk mail scattered across the asphalt like some grotesque suburban confetti. Again. This wasn't the first time. In fact, it was the 5th time in 3 weeks. I sighed, set my coffee down on the porch railing, and began the tedious process of cleaning up. I pulled on a pair of rubber gloves, scooped the trash back into the bin, and wiped the driveway with a damp rag. As I did, I scanned the street. No one in sight. No kids playing, no delivery trucks, no stray dogs. Just the quiet hum of suburban life pretending everything was normal. But it wasn't. I knew who was doing this. Her name was Margaret Holloway, but everyone in the neighborhood called her HOA Karen. Not because she was necessarily the worst person on earth, though she was certainly trending that way, but because she embodied every stereotype of the power-tripping, rule-obsessed, self-appointed neighborhood enforcer. She was in her late 50s, with perfectly coiffed silver hair, designer athleisure, and a permanent scowl that made children instinctively cross the street when they saw her coming. She chaired the HOA board, had been doing so for 8 years, and treated the role like a personal fiefdom. She once fined the Johnsons $200 for painting their front door navy blue instead of approved colonial gray. She reported the Garcias to the city for letting their daughter sell lemonade on a hot summer day, unlicensed commercial activity, she called it. She even had the neighborhood's only openly gay couple, Mark and David, investigated for excessive noise after they played Elton John too loudly during a dinner party. And now, apparently, she had taken it upon herself to target me. At first, I thought it might be a coincidence. Maybe the wind knocked it over. Maybe a raccoon got into it. But by the 3rd time, same exact spot, same precise angle of tipping, same pattern of trash scattered toward the street, I started to suspect something more deliberate. Then came the dashcam footage. I had installed a Ring doorbell and a front-facing dashcam on my SUV after a string of package thefts in the area. One morning, as I was reviewing the night's recordings, I saw it, 6:47 a.m., my trash can standing upright at the curb. Then, at 6:51, a black Cadillac Escalade, Margaret Holloway's car, slowly crept down the street. It stopped directly in front of my driveway. The window rolled down. A gloved hand emerged, gripping what looked like a golf club. She swung it once, cleanly knocking the trash can over. Then she drove off, as calm as if she'd just watered her lawn. I rewound the video. Watched it again. And again. My blood went cold. She wasn't just knocking it over. She was doing it deliberately. Every single morning. I sat there in my garage, staring at the screen, my coffee gone cold, my daughter still asleep upstairs. What the hell was wrong with this woman? I called the police. They came, reviewed the footage, and said they could file a report, but without a direct threat or physical damage, there wasn't much they could do. It's vandalism, the officer said, but unless she's damaging property or threatening you, it's a low-priority offense. She's doing it every day. I said. She's targeting me. The officer shrugged. We can talk to her, but honestly, sir, this sounds like a neighborhood dispute. Maybe try talking to her. I almost laughed. Talk to her. Margaret Holloway didn't do talks. She did citations, fines, and passive-aggressive HOA newsletters. Still, I tried. The next weekend, I waited until I saw her pruning her rose bushes, her sacred ritual, and walked over with a friendly smile. Morning, Margaret, I said. Beautiful day. She barely looked up. It would be, if people followed the rules. I ignored the jab. Listen, I've noticed my trash can keeps getting knocked over. I was wondering if you'd seen anything suspicious. She finally turned, her eyes narrowing behind her oversized sunglasses. Suspicious? Like unsecured trash bins left at the curb past collection time. That's a violation of Section 4.2b of the Community Standards. I blinked. I put it out the night before, like everyone else. It's collected by 7 a.m. And yet, she said, straightening up, it remains a tripping hazard and an eyesore. The board has discussed fining households that fail to retrieve bins promptly. That's not what this is about, I said, keeping my voice level. Someone's knocking it over. On purpose. I have video. She didn't flinch. Video of what, exactly? Your car. Your hand. A golf club. Knocking over my trash can. For a moment, she was silent. Then she smirked. That's ridiculous. I was merely ensuring compliance. If your bin is unstable, perhaps you should invest in a sturdier model. Or better yet, retrieve it immediately after collection. It reflects poorly on the neighborhood. And with that, she turned back to her roses, as if she'd just handed me a life lesson instead of admitting to daily vandalism. I walked back to my house, seething. That night, I told Lily about it over dinner. Wait, the lady who gave me a dirty look for blowing bubbles in the driveway, she asked, wide-eyed. The very same. She's knocking over your trash can? Yep. Lily chewed her spaghetti thoughtfully. Dad, can we get a camera that films the whole street? I smiled. We already do. But like, a robot trash can. One that fights back. I laughed. That's a great idea, kiddo. Maybe I'll look into it. And then, somewhere in the back of my mind, a thought sparked. Not a robot. But something, heavier. Something she wouldn't expect. Over the next few days, I did my research. I looked into reinforced trash cans, weighted bases, locking lids, even motion-activated alarms. But none of it felt final. None of it addressed the real issue. Margaret Holloway wasn't just annoyed by my trash can. She was obsessed with it. This was personal. She wanted me to suffer. She wanted me to feel small. She wanted me to either move or break. So I decided to give her exactly what she wanted, until she didn't. I found a company in Texas that specialized in custom concrete products. They made everything from garden statues to security barriers. I sent them the dimensions of a standard 96-gallon trash can and asked them to make a mold. Then I told them to cast one, entirely out of reinforced concrete. They thought I was joking. No, I said. I want it to look identical to a normal trash can. Same color, same lid, same wheels, but made of concrete. 300 pounds minimum. And I want it ready in 2 weeks. They agreed, for $850 and a signed liability waiver. When it arrived, I nearly strained my back unloading it from the delivery truck. It looked exactly like a regular trash can, gray, with black wheels, a flip-top lid, but when I tapped it with my knuckle, it made a dull, solid thunk. I rolled it down the driveway. It moved, but barely. It was like pushing a boulder. Perfect. I waited for trash day. The morning came. I wheeled the concrete monstrosity to the curb at 7:30 p.m. the night before, just like always. It sat there, silent and immovable, like a tombstone for common sense. I activated all my cameras, doorbell, dashcam, backyard security, even a new one I'd mounted on the mailbox. I told Lily to sleep in her room with the door closed. I didn't know what would happen, but I wanted to be ready. And then I waited. 6:48 a.m. The black Escalade turned onto the street. My heart pounded. She slowed as she approached my house. I could see her through the dashcam feed on my phone, head tilted, eyes locked on the trash can. She stopped. The window rolled down. Out came the golf club. She swung. Clang. The club bounced off the concrete trash can like a twig hitting a wall. The can didn't budge. Not an inch. She stared. Then she swung again. Harder. Clang. Same result. I could see her face now, confusion, then irritation, then full-blown fury. She pulled the club back in, rolled up the window, and backed up. Then she drove forward. Slowly. Bumped into the can. Nothing. She revved the engine. And rammed it. The impact echoed through the neighborhood. The trash can didn't move. But the Escalade's front bumper cracked. She backed up, stared at it, then floored it, straight into the can at nearly 10 miles per hour. Crunch, the hood crumpled. The windshield cracked. The airbags deployed. She sat there, dazed, smoke rising from the engine. I stepped outside. "Everything okay, Margaret?" I asked, voice calm. She stumbled out of the car, screaming. "What the hell is that thing made of?" "Concrete," I said. "Reinforced. Cost me $850. Yours?" She pointed a trembling finger at me. "You did this on purpose. You set a trap." "I put my trash can out for collection," I said. "Just like everyone else. You knew I'd hit it." "I didn't know anything," I said. "But I do have video of you vandalizing my property 57 times over the past 4 months." Her face went pale. 57. Counted every one. Saved every clip. Reported each incident to the police. They just never had enough for charges, until now. She lunged at me, but I stepped back. "Touch me," I said, holding up my phone, "and I'll press assault charges too." She froze. The neighbors were starting to come out, curious, concerned, filming on their phones. One of them, Mrs. Delaney from across the street, said, "Margaret, your car." "It's his fault," she shrieked. "He put a concrete trash can. That's not allowed." I smiled. "Check the HOA bylaws, Margaret. Section 7.3, trash receptacles must be commercially available models, stored at the curb only on collection days. Mine is commercially available. I bought it from a company in Texas. And it's only out on collection day." She sputtered. That's not the point." "The point," I said, "is you've been harassing me for months. Damaging my property. Threatening my peace. And now you've destroyed your own SUV trying to knock over a trash can." The crowd murmured. Then someone clapped. Then another. Then a cheer. I didn't cheer. I just stood there, watching as Margaret Holloway, the iron-fisted queen of the HOA, collapsed onto her ruined Escalade's fender, sobbing. The police arrived 10 minutes later. They took statements. They towed the SUV. They confirmed the vandalism footage. And they told me they'd be reviewing the case for criminal mischief, reckless endangerment, and possible stalking charges. I handed them a USB drive with all 57 incidents. They were impressed. But it didn't end there. Over the next week, things escalated in ways I never expected. First, the video went viral. Someone had posted a clip of the final impact, Escalade vs. Concrete Trash Can, on TikTok. It was titled, Karen vs. Unbreakable Trash Can, Who Wins? It got 12 million views in 48 hours. Then came the news vans. Then the memes. Then the late-night comedians. Ethan Kross, Jimmy Kimmel said, has proven that the best defense against a HOA Karen is 300 pounds of reinforced concrete. I didn't mind. In fact, I donated the ad revenue from the YouTube uploads to a local charity for bullied homeowners. But the real bombshell came from an unexpected source, the insurance adjuster. When Margaret filed a claim for her SUV, the insurance company launched an investigation. They pulled the vehicle's black box data. It showed repeated impacts, dozens of them, over several months. All at the same location. My driveway. They also found something else. Financial discrepancies. The adjuster, curious about the pattern, ran a background check. Found that Margaret had been the treasurer of the HOA for over a decade. And that the HOA's books didn't add up. Over $47,000 missing. Traced to fake vendor invoices, forged checks, and shell companies, all in her name. The police reopened the case. They raided her home. Found ledgers. Burned documents. A safe with stacks of unreported cash. Turns out, she'd been embezzling from the HOA for years, funding her luxury vacations, her SUV upgrades, her endless rose garden renovations. And she'd targeted me not just because I was non-compliant, but because I'd asked questions. 2 months before the trash can saga began, I'd attended an HOA meeting and questioned a $12,000 landscaping improvement charge that wasn't on the agenda. I'd asked for receipts. Margaret had shut me down cold. You don't need to know the details, she'd said. Just pay your dues. I didn't let it go. I filed a formal request for financial records. A week later, my trash can was knocked over for the first time. It wasn't about the trash. It was about silence. She thought she could intimidate me. Bully me into backing down. Instead, she handed me the evidence to destroy her. The trial was brief. Criminal charges, 57 counts of vandalism, 1 count of reckless endangerment, 1 count of financial fraud. She pleaded guilty to all. Sentenced to 18 months in county jail, 3 years probation, restitution of $47,000 to the HOA, and a permanent ban from serving on any homeowners board in the state. Civil suit, I filed for damages, emotional distress, property damage, I had to replace 57 trash cans, legal fees, and punitive damages. The jury awarded me $12,000. Not because it was a huge sum, but because it was symbolic. Justice, served in installments. Today, the concrete trash can sits in my garage. I call it the Sentinel. Lily drew a sticker that says, Trash Can 2.0, Defender of the Driveway, and stuck it on the side. I still get the occasional side eye from some neighbors, mostly the ones who used to kiss up to Margaret. But most people. They wave. They smile. Some even thank me. The HOA elected a new board. No more petty fines. No more power trips. We even voted to allow solar panels without prior approval. As for me, I'm just a guy who stood up to a bully. I didn't fight fire with fire. I fought it with concrete. And sometimes, that's exactly what you need. Because in a world where people like Margaret Holloway think they can run roughshod over others with nothing but a title and a scowl, it's important to remember. You don't always have to shout. Sometimes, you just have to be heavier. And unmovable. Like a trash can. A very, very heavy trash can. People still ask me, was it worth it? Was it worth the stress? The sleepless nights? The fear that she might escalate? The chance that she could have hurt someone? Yes. Because standing up for yourself isn't about revenge. It's about dignity. It's about saying, I exist. I matter. And I won't be pushed around. And if that means outsmarting a vindictive HOA president with an $850 concrete trash can, then so be it. I'm Ethan Cross. And my trash stays upright. Always.